Come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in, as they say. Listen, we are gearing up for another episode of Apostolic Insight, and I want to tell you how fired up I am about tonight. Y'all already know why I'm fired up because today we release the comeback plan. And yes, I am back here in the lab yet again. It's been a full day. We had an amazing time this morning for day number 20 of the comeback plan, and we are getting ready to take that thing another further, and another step forward. So I want you to do what we always do. Come on, y'all already know. Go ahead and jump in the comments, jump in the chat. Let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're listening. Let me know that you are locked in. I'm going to untangle these headphones real quick. But y'all let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're with me, that you locked in, that you're listening, you're paying attention, you're hearing me, all the things, because I'm excited to get into this tonight. Because tonight I want to do a special edition of AI, and I want to walk you through your comeback plan. I want to walk you through how to build and to lead a comeback in your church. I'm going to talk to you about how and why churches get stuck, but I'm going to give you the framework for how you can begin to bring it back. And of course, all the details you can find right here in the comeback plan. They are all going to be there and they're going to be waiting for you. And I'm excited about it. So jump in the chat. Let me know that you're here. So good to see you, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching from. I'm excited about tonight. Now, because I am going to take some time tonight, I want to grab my wife, I want to grab my girls, and I want to take them out and go and hang out for a little bit with them tonight just to celebrate the fact that we launched this book. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I am not driven by how many we sell and how far it goes. I leave those things in the hands of the Lord. I'm just excited today, and I may feel differently tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll probably care about how many books get sold and how the book does and whether or not it gets traction, all that kind of stuff like that. But today, you know what I'm most excited about? I'm just excited that I did it. That's it. I'm just excited that I did it, to be honest with you. Like, I'm just excited that I conquered some of the blockages and the fears and all the things that were just in the way to say, you know what, let's actually go ahead and do this. And I'm just excited that I did it. So tonight, I'm celebrating that we did it, but I also want to use this as a foundation for a very honest and serious conversation. I really want us to be able to take some time and to dive in to what the Lord is saying and what he has for us. All right. So good to see y'all in the chat. Thank y'all for being here. I want you to keep dropping in the chat. Also, I want you to click share. Go ahead and share this. There's somebody you know that needs to receive this, that needs to be here. You know, a pastor, you know, a leader. Maybe it's your team that needs to get in the house and needs to plug in with this. So I want you to go and tell them right now, I want y'all to come in. I want y'all to plug in because we are getting ready to dive into the comeback plan. All right. And so I want to do this, and I'm using something a little bit different tonight for my slides. I'm testing something else out. Y'all know I'm always testing out tools and AI tools that make my slide decks for me. And tonight I was playing around with Claude earlier today to see how it would do with taking just my raw notes and putting them into this format. No distractions, no extras, no graphics, just straight get down to the point. And I want to dive into this because I believe that there are so many churches out there, so many of you out there who are in desperate need of a comeback plan. And tonight, I want to help you get it. Tonight, I want to help you get your comeback plan, and I want to help you take the next step to go from where you are to where God has called you to be. All right. So all I need you to do is I need you to make sure, if you haven't already, go ahead and jump in the chat. Let me know that you're here. Drop your deets down below. I want to connect with you. I want to see who you are, see that you're here. But then also, I want you to click share. I want you to share this with somebody, and I want you to put it in front of them and let them know, hey, we are getting ready to get started, because I'm actually about to get ready to go ahead and jump into this, because I really want to have the time that we need to dive into this and to really have this conversation. All right. So before we get started, y'all know, as I said before, tonight we're celebrating. What are we celebrating? We're celebrating the release of the comeback plan. Let me get my face out the way for a little bit. There you go. The comeback plan. This is the book cover. I want you to go and get it, and I want you to have it. I want you to plug in. It is available on Amazon. With this first book launch, I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. I didn't want to try to manage shipping and printing and all those different things. And so I did everything through Amazon. And so if you go on Amazon, you can get the ebook, you can get the paperback book. The ebook is on a special sale right now. It's just $2.99. That's going to be our startup promotional price for the first 7 days. And then it'll go to regular price. It is available on Kindle. If you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free. You can go read it. You can go and check it out. But I want to encourage you to get you a paperback. Get you one that you can hold in your hand. I want you to get it, and I want you to have it, and I want you to read it, and I want you to work through it because it's going to be a blessing for you. As a matter of fact, if you already got your copy of the paperback or the ebook, I want you to jump in the chat and say, "I got my book." Let me know. Come on, let me know. Let's go. Let's let the world know that the comeback plan is already moving. It's already taking off. Before the book even came out, it was already on the Amazon fast movers list because so many of you had already gone to pre-order it, and I so appreciate you. As I said this morning on day 20, listen, this is not my thing. This is our thing. We doing this together because as a matter of fact, it would not be possible without you. And so I'm excited about this, and I'm excited for what it means and for all of us, for the entire kingdom, not just for me, but for all of us, for those of you who are leading a comeback, for those of you who will write a book of your own in the future. That's right. This is our book. It's our prize. It's not just mine. It's all of ours. All right. And so I want to dive into this tonight. I want to jump into this because I want to talk about the comeback plan. And I want to get into this because I want to help you really see the frame. And I'm going to walk through some of the things from the book. I'm going to walk through some of the stuff that I talk about in the book, but I really want to dive into this because I want to really help you move forward. Because that's what AI is all about. We build systems, not stress over here, okay? We build systems, not stress. And tonight is going to be a little bit different because I want to walk specifically through the framework of a comeback because there are so many pastors who need a comeback. One of the reasons I do this show every week is I know that there are pastors who need help, but maybe they can't afford it. Maybe they've got a board and leaders who they need approval from to get next steps and to take next steps. There's all these people that they need help with processing this and that and all these different things. And so one of the reasons that I do this every Tuesday night is because if you can't afford help, if you can't go and pay anybody, I don't ever want you thinking that the thing standing between you and your comeback is how much money is in your pocket. So if you do nothing else, if you show up here every Tuesday night, I'm going to give you what you need that you can go back and execute. And when the time is right and you're ready to move faster and you're ready to go further and you're ready to bring your team with you, that's when you come back to us and say, "Hey, look, I want to plug into the program and I want to dive into it." All right. So with the release of the book today, I really wanted to take some time and give you this free framework. I want to give you the whole framework of the book, and I'm going to give it to you absolutely for free. I'm going to give it to you tonight because I know that there are so many of you who feel stuck. There are so many of you who are frustrated. There are so many of you who have really been down through there, as we say. And I want to help you. So here's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to walk you through the 4 steps of a comeback. I'm going to give you the exact system that has helped so many churches go from chaos to clarity. I'm going to give you the same framework that I didn't know it at the time, but this is the same framework that I used when I was pastoring and I felt stuck. It's the same framework that's in this book. It's the same framework that we have seen work over and over again. And I'm going to give it to you tonight because I want you to have it. And tonight we're going to talk about 4 steps to your comeback. We're going to give you those 4 steps, and some of you have heard them as we've walked through them, but I'm going to give you those 4 steps tonight. And as I give you those 4 steps, I'm going to give this to you because I know it's a proven framework. As a matter of fact, last night Indiana won the national championship, and listen, I can see this exact framework in the story of Indiana. In their comeback plan, y'all know Indiana was a basketball school. They were not good at football at all, like not even close. And now they just won a national championship with a coach who's in his second or 3rd year. But when you look at his journey, you can see the comeback plan framework all in his journey. And we're going to be talking about it tonight so that we can get it. All right. So before I jump into the teaching, I want to say this. All right. I want to, before we even get down into the nitty gritty, I want to really say this. I want you to understand why you need this. I want you to understand why you need a comeback in the first place and why this is so important. Because in my experience, there are a ton of leaders who are stuck and don't realize it. They think they're just in a season. Can y'all see my quotate? Season. They think it's just a season. They think, oh, this will pass, it'll blow over. And listen, if the world is not teaching us anything right now over these last decade, is that the things that we used to think were seasons have shifted, and it's different now. It's not just seasons anymore. We can no longer just take for granted that things are just there. And the reality is this: you've got to understand where you are, and you've got to do a good job of assessing where you are, right? Are you, if you're in a spot where you're feeling stuck and you realize that in this same climate, some churches are stuck and some churches are growing. In the same climate rather, some of you are trying all the things you know to try, but nothing is changing. In this same climate, some of you are feeling overlooked. You don't have enough support, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough resources. And some of you are feeling overwhelmed, but at the same time, ready for breakthrough, ready to see God do something new, ready to see him do a new thing. And because we're living in that same space, then one of the things that we've got to do, we've got to slow down and assess where we are. And I want you to look at those statements on that screen. And I want you to ask yourself, does any of this feel like me? As a matter of fact, y'all know we believe in honesty and authenticity. And if I'm going to be honest and authentic on this side, I want you to do the same on that side, because that's how we create a culture where this is a space where we can all come and be honest. And so here's what I want you to do. I want you to be honest about how you feel right now. Just be honest. Put it in your own words. You can use the words that are on the screen, but I want you to put it in the chat. I want you to say, look, man, I'm tired of being stuck. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm frustrated about doing everything myself. Or you can say, man, I'm in a good season, but I'm ready to go higher. Things are going amazing, but you know what? I'm ready to fix this area. Whatever. Just, I want you to jump in the chat and just tell me how you feel. I'm not going to put it on screen because I want this to be a safe space. I'm not going to plug it up. It's just going to live there in the chat. But just share. How are you feeling tonight? I want you to honestly reflect on where you are and let me know, because you've got to be able to name your pain. You have got to be able to name your pain, all right? You've got to be able to say, this is how I feel. Absolutely. And thank you all for being honest. Thank you all for being honest. I'm sick and tired of being, looking, I understand, sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm frustrated with my reality. I need some more help. Yes, absolutely. I need some more research. I see you, all right? And I want you to take that time, and I just want you to just really take a moment and assess where you are, because a part of this journey is that you've got to be willing to be honest. All right. You got to be willing to be honest. And so here's what I've learned after working with hundreds of pastors. Most of you are literally one decision away from your breakthrough. One decision. Just one decision away. Not, I got 50 things on my plate. I got 30 things I got to do. I got 20 things. Nope. Many of you are just one decision away from your breakthrough. Here is the problem. You don't know what that one decision is, because nobody has sat in front of you and given you a clear path. And for that reason, it's not even totally your fault. Nobody's told you this is the exact path. I was meeting with some pastors the other day, and I laid out a plan for them over the next 30 days to completely revitalize their church, because they had some good stuff, good people, solid things. They were just missing the path. And so I gave them a path of who to meet with, what to say when they get together, what to give them, how to challenge them, and then when to get a response and what to do next. And at the end of that call, those pastors said to me, you gave us more in this 45 minutes than we got in another program that we were in for an entire year. One decision. And the one decision for them was to connect with somebody who can help them. And so we connected, and they said, man, look, we need the help. And I was like, all right, I'll help you. And I, as a part of their sign up, I gave them a free strategy call. And in that strategy call, we walked through it. One decision. You're one decision away. And just your challenge is that, again, nobody's giving you that clear path that you need to know where to go next. Nobody's giving you that path to know where to go next. And you're really just that one decision away. Not all the ideas in your head, not 3 revivals away, not 47 ideas, not go read 15 more books. not go to 8 more conferences and board meetings and all. It's not those things that's going to move it. Because when you do all that stuff, what ends up happening is you end up more confused than when you started. Because you're eating from so many different plates trying to put everything together that you're making your own little Frankenstein. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Because to be honest, and I'm a serial resource purchaser and buyer, when you get all these different things, what they end up doing is giving you inspiration, but not a system. They inspire you and you get fired up and you get excited like, man, this is great. Because here's the reality. Sometimes buying something feels like a decision when it's really not a decision. Right? Like thinking about, hey, an idea or taking a step is not necessarily a decision. You got to do something with what you get, which is why inspiration is cool, but you need a system. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. All right. You're one decision away. Right? You just need to get clear on what that decision is and what it really means for you. All right. So let's talk tonight about what makes this different. What makes what we're doing different than what we have seen before, and maybe even what you've seen before. All right. This is not theory. All right. We talked about this. If you didn't see day 20, we got real honest. And Latoya, my wife, she shared about how I got frustrated at a point with this book because I was like, man, like, I set out to write this book and I said, I don't want to give anybody fluff. I want to give them the straight nitty gritty strategies. And then when I got the print copy of the book, it was thinner than I wanted it to be. And I said to her, I said, no, I got 3 times more content than this. I can go put some more stuff in here. I need to go load it up. I wanted this book to be bigger. I don't want this thin. And she was like, no, stand on what the Lord gave you. He told you to go straight and just give them what they needed. And so I was like, all right. And that's what we did. So this is not theory. This is not just, devotional material that you read and put down. This is a book, but it's work. It's the whole strategy. It is all of the things that you need to understand your people, your team. Look, I'm looking here in chapter 6. And chapter 6 is called Recruit, How to Recognize New Leaders Before They're Fully Ready. And it's based on Nehemiah 3, next to them, beside them, and across from them. And one of the things that I talk about is the theology of raising new leaders. And I talk about what that really looks like, what you look for, how you look for heart before you look for skill. I walk through learning to recognize spiritual hunger. Because you don't want leaders around you and on your team who are not spiritually hungry. Because they do stuff out of a sense of duty. They do it for a paycheck, but they don't have the word girding them up to motivate what they do. And when you get somebody who has spiritual hunger, it does something different. I talk about relational glue, people who just naturally draw other people to them. You need glue people around you. You don't need rubber people around you. Rubber people, they bounce people away, but glue people cause people to stick. So I talk about these things. I talk about the servant spirit and resilience and all these different things that are here. And I'm telling you, we wanted to get straight to the nitty gritty of what it is. It's about biblical systems. We're walking through all the things that are going to help you take the same journey that Nehemiah took. That this is not just we're throwing this out, but this is, I looked in the scriptures. Here's what I saw. I saw Nehemiah do in 52 days what others could not do in almost 70 years. And when I saw that, I said, all right, this is a blueprint. If we can grab that blueprint, it is proof that it doesn't have to take us forever to do what God has called us to do. I'm not saying everybody's comeback can happen overnight, but I am saying I know for a fact you can make progress in 52 days. I know for a fact. I ain't got no question about it. I know for a fact you can make progress in 52 days. You can do it. And so that's what we wanted to condense, and that's what we want to dive into, all right? So let's talk about the framework. So here's the framework. It's really simple. It's 4 steps. It is 4 steps. Revive, revision, revitalize, rebuild, all right? Somebody put that in the chat. Put these 4 steps in the chat. All right, put them in the chat. Revive, revision, revitalize, rebuild. Those are the 4 steps, all right? Super, super simple. Revive, revision, revitalize, rebuild. All right. When we talk about revive, we're talking about the heart of the leader. In many ways, it is like coming back to your original call from the Lord. Ministry wears you out and wears you down. And from time to time, you got to stop and come back to the original call. Revision is all about developing your plan, getting clear on what you're going to do. And you got to notice that you've got to get a plan and a strategy in place, because your strategy is going to help you with phase number 3, or step number 3, which is revitalize, which is build your team. That's where you start to build your team and start to slowly integrate some different systems. But in order to build a team, you've got to first have a vision, because when you can't pay people money, you pay them in vision. A vision for their life, a vision for how they'll make a difference, a vision for how this is a kingdom work that has been ordained by God. You help them in vision. And then step number 4 is rebuild. That's where we actually go and execute. That's where we go and execute. And so often, leaders are jumping straight to rebuild without going to the first 3 steps. And when you do that, it causes conflict. When you do that, it causes you to fall short of God's original plan for you, and you miss out on some of what he has for you. All right. So let's dive into this step by step. All right. I want to go through this, and I want to give you this because I know this is going to be so helpful and such a blessing, because as we dive through these 4 pieces, these 4 things, one of the things that you're going to see is you're going to begin to see how God brings this thing all together. All right. So step number 1 is revive. It's really about returning to your original call. Here is Nehemiah. He's living in Persia. He's got a successful career. He's got a comfortable life. For all that we can tell, everything seems fine. And then his brothers come and tell him about what's going on in Jerusalem. The walls are broken. The gates are burned. The city is in ruin. People are not doing well. And how does Nehemiah respond to this? He doesn't go straight, oh, let me put together a plan. He didn't pull out his pen and start writing. He didn't take out a voice note and start recording. He doesn't do any of those things. He doesn't go grab a team, build a coalition. He doesn't start a ministry. He doesn't start a church. He doesn't start a nonprofit. He doesn't start a business, not yet anyway. He doesn't start a capital campaign because, oh, we just need more money. He doesn't go and recruit volunteers because, oh, we just need more people. He doesn't go to another conference and start putting together vision. Oh, we just need bigger vision. He doesn't go back to seminary. Oh, I just need to preach better sermons, because none of those are the answer. None of those are the solution. Not the first solution. Those are not the first solutions. You know what he does? He weeps. He cries his eyes out. He prays and calls out to the Lord. He fasts. He goes before God first. And after he goes before God first, then he prepares to come forward. You know, as I was researching this, and I'm saying this off the top of my head, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that it is believed that the period of time that Nehemiah sat down and fasted and prayed and did all the things that he did, I believe was about 4 months. 4 months. He lets God work on him. He lets God deal with him first. Why? Because getting clarity with God first is the fastest way to move into what he has for you. You got to get clarity with God first. You can't just jump to all the other stuff. You got to get clarity with God first. God has to do something with you. That's why one of the first sessions in our program is all about the leader. It's called the intentional leader. If you go into our Church Citizens in a Box program right now and you go into the library, one of the first modules you see is the intentional leader. Because God's got to get you right first. He's got to deal with you first. And once he deals with you, he will empower you to go deal with everything else. But he's got to have you won over. He's got to have your mind, your heart, your spirit, all of you won over. Because until he wins you over, you're not whole. And so Nehemiah takes some time. And before he goes to do all of those other things, he goes before God. He spends 4 months before the Lord, weeping, praying, fasting, crying out to God, searching for answers. And here's the reality. Before God gets victory over your situation, he's got to get victory over you. So I want you to wrestle with these 3 questions, all right? What did God originally call your church to do? Even if you have taken over a church that had a pastor before you, that was planted before you, it would do you really good to go back into the history and discover the original marks of the church. What was God calling that church to do? Why did that original group get together and plant the church? You need to discover that, because in many cases you'll discover that hopefully that was a noble calling that led them to plant. There was some need that led them to plant. Now, sometimes you go digging and you discover a not so good history that the church was born out of a split, and somebody got mad and they left to go start a church, and now you done inherited a battle that happened 75 years ago you didn't have nothing to do with. And in that case, I would still encourage you to keep chasing it down and go back to that original church's history and discover why and how did God plant this church. What was it that was the original calling card? That is not to say that that's where you have to be, but it's go and discover, man, what is God doing? Because if I'm going to revive this place, I need to know if I'm going to lead in the latter rain, I need to first understand the former glory. I need to understand the former glory so that I can lead in the latter rain and so I can lead it forward. So what was the original call of God on your church? But don't stop there. What was the original call of God on you? How did God call you into ministry? What did you see that frustrated you? See, the way that God got me is I was literally standing in a circle. It may have been teammates when I was in college. And I was standing around. And I had other moments before this, but in college, this is what really brought it home. I was standing around with a group of guys, and we were doing something with church, and they pulled out Bibles, and everybody had King James Bibles. So that's all everybody had. And somebody was like, man, that stuff too complicated, man. I can't read that, man. This and these and thous and those havenstance and, all these other, they was like, man, you can't read that. And I was like, no, it's not complicated. I was like, what you reading? Right. And the thing that got me is people who thought that the Bible was complicated. And so my original call was to make the word simple so anybody could grab it. And that hasn't changed today. Even as a consultant, as a coach, I'm still taking complicated things and making them simple for people. So what's your original call? What's the gap between God's original design and where you are? Nehemiah reaches back and Nehemiah said, man, you the faithful God who keeps his word and keeps his promises. And here's what you said. You said if we stay with you, you would stay with us. You also said if we went away from you, we'll go away from us. But then you said if we come back, you will come back to us. And so since you faithful, and I got a word to stand on, I'm coming back to your original design. What's the heart behind what God has called you to? That is a part of revival, is that you've got to discover your original call. Until you get honest about the gap between where you are and where God has called you to be, you'll keep on missing it. Until you feel the weight of that, until you have a marker that you can pursue, until you can set yourself up against the plumb line of God's vision for your life, you will miss the fullness of what God is trying to do in your church, and you may even miss it in your life. So phase number one, step number one is revive. Somebody put revive in the chat. Put revive in the chat. All right, let's keep going. Number two. All right, number two is revision. So when we talk about revision, all right, look at this. When we talk about revision, one of the things that we're going to talk about, that we're going to deal with, is developing your plan. All right. Now, let me go back real quick, because in the book, in chapter 2, all right, number fact, let me go to it. In chapter 2, I speak about something. There is, and I think I may have included this in the bonus resources. But in the bonus resources, one of the things that I put together is this weeping exercise. And it's where I challenge you to really take a moment and to weep for the things that you need to weep for, to really lament how far away from God's vision we have gotten. And this is just you, this is the leader just taking a personal moment and just saying, like, man, I got to deal with this. I know it's going to be uncomfortable. I know it's going to be emotional, but my God, is it necessary? I've got to really get honest about where we are and what's broken. And I never forget church I pastored in the past, and I went through the process of learning the church's history. Two churches actually. I went through the process of learning their history and learning how they came about, how they got built, and where they came from, and all these different things. And I did those things, and I learned it. And man, it was so heartbreaking seeing the original vision, seeing where we were, but even understanding how we got away. You know, Nehemiah said, "We, your people, have sinned." Like, where have the people gotten off track? And that's uncomfortable, especially if you're taking over a church from somebody else and you're leading a church you didn't plant. And because, you know, when you're a leader, you've got a tall task. You've got to push forward, but you've got to still find a way to honor the past. I can't disrespect the pastor before me. I can't expose the leaders before me and throw them under the bus and all those kind of things. But behind closed doors, you got to deal with that stuff. Behind closed doors, you got to wrestle with it. Behind closed doors, you got to deal with it. Behind closed doors, you got to work through the process of what that reality is like. And sometimes that includes weeping. And I think what that was a chapter that I was going to include and I decided not to include. And that's a chapter on weeping and on really crying out and understanding like, man, I got to deal with the things that I would rather avoid. Because on the other side of it is my breakthrough. But then number two, we go into revision. And so we go to revision. What we're talking about is now we're starting to get a little bit strategic. All right. Now in this piece, we're starting to come to the point where we're developing a plan, a strategic plan. All right. And now here is a distinction I have got to make. Notice I said strategic plan and not hopeful plan. Because in the church, we have mastered hopeful plans. We have mastered the building of plans that make us feel hopeful, that make us feel like, man, I feel good about this. There's some hope here. Like, let's put this out there and we hope God gets on it and hope God breathes on it. And really, what's more fruitful, I'm going to just be honest with you. We need to have hope, but let me tell you what's more fruitful. What's more fruitful is to move in the direction that God has already framed, that he's already approved. And there are some principles he's already put his stamp of approval on. And so I don't have to hope because I know that it's already going to happen. For example, he says, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. Now he's talking practically, very literally, if you put me up on this cross, people are coming to me. But he is also, I believe, saying that if we uphold his principles and his teaching, and we do things the way he did it, the way he taught, if we teach these new disciples to obey all the things that he has commanded us, if we become a church that he can trust, he will send people to us. So this is not a hopeful plan, it's strategic. Somebody put strategic in the chat. Come on, y'all flood the chat with strategic. Strategic. You have got to have a strategic plan. And I want to say something, and I really want you to hear my heart when I say this. There are so many pastors, I would argue too many pastors, who have a prayer but not a plan. They have a prayer but they don't have a plan. And you need both. Nehemiah's prayer leads to a plan, right? I'm not just praying for the Lord to help me feel better about my situation, nor am I praying and expecting that he's going to fix it all himself. When God sends a leader into a place, you become his ambassador to lead the change. And so what I'm praying is, Lord, help me as I navigate through this, but give me the plan for how you want me to move in this. Give me the plan for how you want us to take Jericho. I already know you gave us the promised land. Give me the plan for how to do it well. Because AI is going to teach us that, man, I could be the right person and do it wrong and mess it up. So Lord, show me how to do this. Nehemiah goes in and he has prayer and he has a plan. But then here's the other thing. So many leaders, not only do you have prayer but no plan, you have vision but no vehicle. That's almost like saying, hey, look, man, I want to go to Abu Dhabi this summer. All right, bet, we're going to Abu Dhabi. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and let's go on 4th of July weekend. We're going to Abu Dhabi. All right, cool. How we going to get there? Oh, I don't know. We'll figure that out later. What? You not finna swim to Abu Dhabi. I can tell you that. For sure, for sure. You not finna swim over there. So you're gonna need a vehicle, right? You're gonna need to book a flight at some point. And that's what happens when you get all this vision and you put together your plans. Oh, this is what we're gonna do in 2026. Here's what God is gonna do. 2026, I'm gonna get my fix. 2026, we going and it's gonna be bliss, right? Whatever it is. But if you don't put a vehicle to that vision, it's not going anywhere. Nehemiah, that's not how he rolled. What Nehemiah did is that he put together a plan. All right. So what does Nehemiah's strategic plan looks like? All right. And I want you to get this. Nehemiah goes out at night. And when he goes out at night, he takes only a few people with him. He hadn't announced it yet. He hadn't said anything. He goes out at night, takes a few people. He inspects the wall in secret. So he's looking at stuff that people don't even know he's looking at. He's reviewing stuff people don't even know he's reviewing. He doesn't assume he knows what needs to be done. He goes. And I imagine that he was making a list. He was putting it on paper. He was writing it down. He's not going to rely on secondhand information. He can't take what his brother said, okay, and say, okay, I'm just going to go and build this wall. He needs to know what he's really up against, because people can tell when you know what you're up against by the strategy that you put in front of them. And so Nehemiah has to go in and make sure he understands the reality. He looks at it. He measures it. He assesses the damage. And then, only then, does he now begin to call the people together and announce the comeback. After he had the plan, then his promise would have some validity. And some of you, your vision is being undermined by your lack of a plan. You're casting vision and you're talking about where we're going. But the people looking like, well, I don't know how he think we finna do this. I don't know how she think we're gonna do this. You gotta have a plan. So Nehemiah does assessment before he does announcement. And then when he does announce, he comes in with a clear plan and a clear strategy, and he lays it out for the people and says, this is exactly where we're going. But here's the first part of that. You cannot fix what you will not face. You cannot fix what you will not face. If you won't face it, it won't work. If you won't face it, you can't fix it. If you're going to fix this wall, you got to go stand in the rubble. You got to go stand in what's broken. You got to go in your building and you got to stand underneath that tile where it's leaking. You got to go into your fellowship hall that is in desperate need of repair. And you got to look around and say, this is broken and this is not right. You got to go to that staff meeting that you don't like being at, that leadership meeting where you know the people going to fight you. You got to go in there and you got to assess while everybody is talking. You got to be making notes about who's looking at who and who's elbowing who and who's engaged and who's not. You got to go into those tough places and you got to be willing to face it. You got to have some hard conversations with some people. You got to go to the chairman of the deacon board and ask him, why does it feel like you fight me on everything I try to do? Why did y'all call me to be the pastor here if all you were going to do is fight me on this? Well, you got to go to your leaders and say, why did you say yes to be a leader when you're not doing anything that goes with your role, when you're not helping to build? You got to be willing to face the hard stuff. If you don't face the hard stuff, you can't move it forward. You got to be willing to go in there and deal with it. You got to be willing to go in there and face it. And it's not going to be easy, but you can't fix what you won't face. You need to do a midnight ride of your own. You need to do it. Take a moment where you literally go walk. One of the things that I encourage pastors to do is to walk through your church with new eyes. Like, go one day when you're not getting in there to go to church, just one day when you got some time, and just walk around your building and look as though you were a contractor or you were a new person. And ask yourself, what do we need to deal with? What is it? You can't fix what you don't face. What's working? What's broken? What needs to be torn down? What needs to be built up? Where do we start? There's a lot of stuff going on. Where do we start? Because here's what we miss about Nehemiah. And I believe this. Nehemiah knew that the wall and the gates were a symptom of something greater. The walls and the gates were symptoms. The real issues were the economy, it was the government, it was the relationships, it was security. It was all, and most deeply, it was a spiritual issue. Nehemiah knew that. But the wall was just an outward expression of an inner turmoil. And if you show me, as an example, if you show me a building, a church building that is not well cared for, I will show you a congregation that's not fully engaged. So it's an outward expression. It's an outward expression. This is everywhere. Like if you come in my office, well, not right now, because my daughter came and I asked her to organize my desk for me. But if I go get in my truck right now, it's chaotic in there. There's stuff everywhere. It's all kind of stuff. I got suit jackets just in case I need to put on a jacket one day. I got workout clothes just in case, I decide to randomly go to the gym. I got notebooks from pads that I've been writing in. I got Gatorade bottles and water bottles that I keep in case I need to make my little shake with my little packets. I got it's chaotic. But you know why? It's because right now I'm in kind of a chaotic season. I just am. I got a lot of stuff going on and I appreciate it. I'm in a chaotic season. And so guess what? If you go to certain places around my life, you see chaos. Because some of what I'm doing internally is what I call organized chaos. Now, to you it's chaos, but to me, I know exactly where everything is. That's why I will walk in my house talking to my wife and be like, hey, babe, I had a screwdriver 3 months ago that I set right here. Where is it? And she looks at me like, boy, that thing was there for 6 months. I moved it. I'm like, what did you move it to? And she's like, I don't remember. That's why I put it there. Why would you move my things? I know exactly where I put stuff when I want to come back to get it. Crazy, right? But the reality is that that's a part of the process. And let me go back to this, all right? Because I jumped a little too ahead. You can't fix what you won't face. And so when he comes to cast vision, when Nehemiah comes to cast vision, he's casting vision based on what he's seen. Let me tell you something, and I want you to get this. Strategic clarity beats random activity every time. Strategic clarity beats random activity every time. So you got to pursue strategic clarity. You have got to be, an absolute bulldog in going after strategic clarity. That's what you've got to go after. Let me keep going because we got to get out of this. But clarity is better than activity. All right, somebody put that in the chat. Clarity over activity. Clarity over activity. All right, let's keep going. Step number 3. All right. Step number 3. Let's go to revitalize. All right. And I'm looking in the book in real time. So let me go. So revitalize, I believe, starts around chapter 3. So let's go here. And I talk about this in part number 2. That's revision. I talk about making the walk and going through the process and going through all the things. Let me go over to revitalize, part number 3. In revitalize, one of the things I talk about is I talk about a couple of different things because revitalize is about building your team. It's about building your team, all right? So look at this. Chapter 5 is titled Redeem, Finding and Affirming Your Core Leaders. Because sometimes when we think about revitalizing, so many leaders assume that I need to go out and get a whole new team. So many leaders assume that. And I don't believe that. I believe that the movement going forward is going to be a partnership between the faithful few and the young guns who are coming through the door. I think it's both. And one of the things that will handicap your comeback is if you don't redeem the people you already have. Look at this. Nehemiah 3:1, it says, Then Elisha, the high priest, and the other priests started to rebuild at the sheep gate. They dedicated it and set up his doors. Nehemiah took the priest who had been around for a while, who were older men, and he comes to them and he shows them, y'all still got value. This is going to be a team effort. I need you in this. And before Nehemiah goes out and start assigning the builders, He affirmed all the ones who were already there. If anybody was trying to move things forward before this, don't you think Elisha and the priests and those people were trying to do things? Don't you think as the voices of God, they were trying to help move things forward and they could not do it for whatever reason? It wasn't happening. And so when Nehemiah comes around, he doesn't push past some people. Y'all, oh, get out the way. Y'all didn't work. Y'all tried to do it. Your way didn't work. So don't come over here and mess with me. He didn't do that. Nehemiah went in and said, hey, look, I just want you to let you know, I need you. And one of the things I say in the book is this, and I'm going to read a quick excerpt. It says, don't look for new first, look for faithful. All right. The temptation in a comeback season is to start recruiting outward. We think that we need people from the outside. But sometimes your next core team isn't new, they're just undervalued. Nehemiah re-engaged leaders based on three key traits. Number one, proximity. They were already there. Number two, purpose. They had a role to play. And then number three, potential. They just needed clear direction. Ask yourself, who consistently shows up even without a title? Who has a heart for the house even if their skills aren't polished yet? Who leads through service and not just words? Affirm those people. Man, that was good. Who wrote this? Y'all, who wrote this? That was so good. I really, listen to me. Sometimes it starts with redeeming the people. Y'all know I'm crazy. Y'all don't hype me up. I'll act crazy. All right. But look at this. He comes and Nehemiah builds a team. You know, you can't do this alone. And some of y'all are trying to do this alone. And trying to do it alone is not noble. It's not faith. It's pride. It's pride. Nehemiah knew better. And here's why I say it's pride. It's because one of the first things you ought to be concerned with is building your team. You should not even be thinking about trying to grow your church if you haven't built your team yet. You should not. You should not be trying to, I want to reach more people. The first people you need to be trying to reach are people who will sit with you around a table because they believe in the vision God has given you. If you're not investing in them, I don't know what you're trying to do. I don't know how you expect this to work. I don't know why you're asking God to bless it when you're out of order. You cannot let it be said that this could be done without a team. If God himself wouldn't do it alone, if he showed up on the brink of nothingness in eternity and said, let us make man. Let us make man if God wouldn't do it alone, why you think he gonna bless you to build his kingdom alone? And that was never his blueprint or pattern. If Jesus, God wrapped in flesh, Christ, God the Son, came to earth, and the first thing he did was go to a group of men and say, hey, follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. If he built a team first and spent 3.5 years training that team first, before the Holy Spirit comes and give birth to the church, what makes you think that God is going to bless what you're trying to build by yourself? Nehemiah knew better. And now I'm challenging you to know better. You need to know better. Because when Nehemiah inspected the walls, then he gathered the people. And he said to them, y'all see what trouble we are in. Come let us rebuild the wall. Nehemiah used a whole lot of we and us language. And you've got to do the same. Nehemiah does something that was so genius. And I got to go past this because I got to get to the next part. I want to finish this up. All right. Look at this. He does something so genius. He assigns every family to rebuild the section of the wall that is closest to their own house. Why does he do this? I need you to get this. Because he made it personal. He knew they would be invested. And now he gave them an opportunity to have skin in the game. If you want to turn a group of people, the fastest and the easiest way to turn them and to turn the ship without people falling off is to connect the vision to something that matters to them. The people in your church, something and somebody matters to them. If you connect the vision to that, they will get involved and it'll be completely different. Let me keep going. All right, look at this. I want you to ask these questions, key questions. Are you building with a team? Or are you just recruiting volunteers to support your own burnout? Let the church say amen. 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, say amen. Listen, are you building a team or are you just inviting a small group of people to be burnt out with you? See, this is why you got to do this in order. If one of the reasons that you have probably struggled to build a team in the past is because your vision wasn't right. And one of the reasons that your vision probably wasn't right is because you haven't taken the time to let God deal with you first. These things go in order. They build on each other. That's the beauty of a system. Every gear turns another. They're all connected. The way systems work, and that's why I always use gears when it comes to systems, because I think about the inside of a watch. There's really only one mechanism that's connected to the battery. And that one mechanism that's connected to the battery moves everything else. That one mechanism moves everything else. That one mechanism. And so that's what you've got to endeavor to do, is you've got to endeavor to make sure that you're moving the right things. Because there's a difference between those two things on the screen. A team has clarity, a team has accountability, a team has systems. And the challenge is right now you got people, but you don't have teams. You know what? I'm gonna let I'm gonna just let y'all get the book. I'm gonna let y'all get the books because y'all got the breaks on Tolbert tonight. Y'all got the breaks on Tolbert. Man, look, I went to House of Hope a couple of weeks ago, and Dr. E. Dewey Smith was preaching, and he was preaching good. He said, man, y'all got the breaks on Dewey. Listen, y'all got the breaks on Tolbert tonight, man. Y'all got the breaks on me tonight, man. I'm over here trying to, listen, some of y'all have people, but not teams. And there's a difference. There's a difference. And so you've got to make sure you're moving into it. All right. And that's one of the things that we talk about in here, man. That's one of the things that we dive into. We really go into what it looks like to not only redeem the people you have, but then number 2, I talk about recruit, how to recognize new leaders before they're fully ready. And then once we go beyond that, over in chapter number 7, is then I talk about how do you bring these two groups together. I do a chapter called Retrain, how to build a team that lasts longer than you do. All right. And so look at this, Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 17, it says, the laborers carried on their work with one hand supporting their load and one hand holding a weapon. The workers kept doing their work. That's what pastors, that's what you need. You need a team that'll keep doing your work. They'll keep doing their work. You don't have to stand over them. You don't have to keep on doing it. And the key is when you get these two groups, you got to train them together. You got to take the old guard and the new wave, and you got to train them on the process moving forward. You've got to train them on how to do what you have called them to do and to execute the mission. All right, let's keep going. Last piece. All right, that's revitalize. Now we go into rebuild. Rebuild. And rebuild is about execution. It's about implementation. It's about actually getting it done. And in part 4 of rebuild, I open up with the story of a woman who prayed for a birthday cake. And she said, Lord, all I want for my birthday is a birthday cake. And I'll fast forward to the good parts because you can read the details in the book. But one of the things that ends up happening is that one by one, her neighbors start bringing her these random items. Somebody brings her flour, somebody brings her milk, somebody brings her sugar, somebody brings her eggs, somebody brings her vanilla, all these kind of things. And she's got all these things that she's gotten for her birthday sitting on the table. And she's disappointed because she asked God for a cake. And what she realizes eventually is that God has given her the cake, but it simply needs to be assembled. And rebuild is where you assemble all the pieces together. It's where you take the vision and you take your new heart and you take the vision and you take this new team and you start bringing it all together in a way that really makes a difference. And here is where so many leaders fail, is that even the ones who start strong don't finish strong. And you got to finish strong, because if you start strong, what happens? You lose momentum, you get distracted, you face a little bit of opposition and quit. But that wasn't Nehemiah's way. What Nehemiah did is that Nehemiah started strong and he finished strong. And this is why I talk about the Nehemiah principle, that you've got to cast vision every 26 days because vision leaks out. And you've got to make sure that you keep on casting that vision and taking things to the next step. You got to make sure you do that. And so look at this. This is what Nehemiah does. Nehemiah pulls a team together, and his team rebuilds the entire wall in 52 days. 52 days, they build the entire wall. 52 days. They've been trying for 70 years. In 52 days, they do it. What could God do in your church in 52 days? And you know how they did it? Instead of like taking decades to get it done, because there are some projects you've been trying to do for years. You know how they did it? They had a plan. They worked as a team. Opposition came. Don't matter. They didn't stop. They kept on going. And let me tell you something. Opposition will come. Sometimes it comes from the outside. Sometimes it comes from the inside, but it will come. But in the end, they finish what they started, and you've got to endeavor to do the same. You've got to endeavor to do the same. 52 days. What could God do in your church in 52 days? I love to tell the story how I preached this at a church with one of my good friends, Pastor Derek Parks, up in Wilmington, Delaware. 15 people were in the room. They had been decimated. Went from 115 to 15 people after 2020. And I went there to go and encourage him and just to be there with him, because he was my brother. I could tell, he was kind of frustrated. He was in a tough spot. He was in a valley of decision, wondering like, man, is this working? Should I keep going? Should I keep doing it? Whatever it is. And I preached that Sunday. At the end of that sermon, I said, the Holy Spirit has been wrestling with me all night. And I'm just going to share what he told me to tell you. In 52 days, everything is about to change. Everything is going to turn around in 52 days. I spoke that word, and not because I said it, I was just a conduit. The Holy Spirit did it. 52 days later, their church was completely different. 52 days later, they had almost 80 people in the building. 52 days later. And even now, church growing, thriving, strong. 52 days. What could God do in your church in 52 days? What could God do in your church in 52 days? All right, so here's one of the things that's included inside the book as I get ready to round this out to a close. I'm going to give you the framework. I'm going to give you some worksheets that'll be in the bonus area that'll release later this week. I'm going to give you some assessment tools, all those different things. But the primary piece is this, is that I'm going to give you what you need to begin taking the next steps, the right next steps, not just random next steps, the right next steps. I'm going to give you what you need. Right? Even at the end of that book, one of the things that I do give you and I do share with you is a roadmap. I share with you a roadmap. And again, some of these things are in the resources. There's a QR code in the book that I give you so that you can go and you can grab some of the things that you need to get, all of that kind of stuff like that. Like there's a relaunch checklist in the back of the book that I put out there that I give you. There is all these different things that I put there in front of you to help you take the next step. I give you a team night agenda because at some point in here, I talked to you about hosting a vision night where you bring your team together and you cast this vision. I give you an agenda for it. I put all of it in there, but it's time for you to take the next step, all right? So I'm going to extend to y'all before I close out the offer that I did this morning. I've got, I think, 5 of these left. If you go and purchase 5 or more copies for your team, however big your team is, that's how many books you should get. But if you purchase at least 5 copies, all right, you purchase the 5 copies, you leave a 5-star review. If you email me the proof, the receipt, and the review that you left so that I can see it, I'm going to give you a private training session with me, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull together a time where I'm going to spend 60 to 90 minutes with your team. And I'm going to coach them and train them on whatever you invite me to coach and train them on, right? I'm going to coach them through it. I'll make sure that I walk them through these next steps, all this kind of stuff like that. All of those things are going to be there, all right? If you go and get your 5 copies of the book and you want some training for your team, you say, look, my team needs training on evangelism. My team needs training on guest follow-up. Can you train my team on social media? Can you train my team on AI? Whatever you ask for, I'm going to train your team, right? So I want to show you what that means, right? That means if you buy 5 books, it's going to be less than $100 when you buy those 5 books on Amazon, because all of this is on Amazon.com. You can go and get it. You're going to get a 60 to 90 minute private training with me where I'm going to add an extreme amount of value to your team to make sure that you're ready to take the next steps and to make sure that they can support the comeback plan, all right? This is, again, not just theory. This is not just feel good. This is not just generic advice, but this is a real plan to help you take the next steps and to help you and your team move forward. And so if you want to plug into that, I want to invite you to do so. I want to invite you to go right now, go get your books. Matter of fact, if you already got your book, I want you to jump in the chat and say, I got mine. Let me know in the chat. You got your, and thank you, because a bunch of y'all did it this morning. I think I said this on the Devo this morning. I was going to open up 10 slots. 5 people got them immediately. And so if you want to get one of those last spots that are available, I want you to go in there and I want you to grab it right now. I want you to plug in and I want you to take that next step, because I want to help you and your team. All right. So go order the book. And after you order the book, I want you to go ahead and start reading it. I want you to go start, and listen, you can do this in a weekend. I promise you. Like, some of the chapters, are several pages long, but some of the chapters might be 2 or 3 pages, like 1 or 2 of the chapters. But for the most part, especially on the front end, I kept everything as simple as possible. It gets a little bit more detail in some places as you go on, but I want you to just start. Go get started. Go read the book. Go get into it, because your comeback could start right now. This could be your comeback. This could be the moment that you can step forward. So you need to get a book for your leaders, get one for your board, your elders, get one for your staff, and tell them, hey, look, we're going to walk through this together. We're going to read this together. We're going to put this together, right? And one more bonus that I'm going to offer to you guys who do a bulk order. If you get 5 or more, I'm going to give you the sermon series. I'm going to give you a 6-session sermon series, all put together based on the book and based on building your comeback. So you're going to be able to walk your church through a comeback that can help you take the next step and help you move forward. All right. This series has not been shared anywhere else. Nobody else has it. It's only going to be connected to these book resources. So I want you to go ahead and grab it. It just makes sense for you to take that next step and for you to move things forward. All right. Listen, your comeback starts now. But you've got to decide that you're going to build something that really lasts. And I want to help you do that. All right. So because I'm pressed for time, I'm going to go ahead and pray for you. I do want to encourage you, drop your prayer requests in the chat. If you got your book, let me know in the chat. I will definitely come back and look at it. But I want to pray, man, because I want to go celebrate this book launch with my wife and my girls and just let them know how much I appreciate them, how excited I am, so that we can get ready to take the next step. All right. So let's pray. Father, I thank you for all that you have done and all that you are doing. I thank you for this special opportunity that you have given us to produce this work. I pray that your Holy Spirit would be on it and that you would take it into every place it needs to go, that you would put it in the hands of every pastor and leader who needs it, every board member, every deacon, every trustee, every elder, every volunteer, every person on a church staff, every person in the ministry, that you would put it in their hands. And after you put it in their hands, God, I pray that you would put it in their hearts. I pray that your glory would come out of the scriptures that are in this book and would minister to people in a way that they would be transformed and changed. Help us to start a revival that begins with just a handful of churches that realized they were just one decision away, and they decided to make that next step and go from where they are to where you called them to be. God, I thank you for how good you have been, and I thank you for how good you will continue to be. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, good people. Thank y'all so much. God bless you. Thank you for getting your books. Thank you for getting plugged in. And until next time, y'all know tomorrow is day 21. So we're going to finish this thing out strong tomorrow. Join us at 7:30 Central for day 21 of the 21-day comeback challenge. Until next time, keep the gears turning. Peace.